Good afternoon. Our case study today is Parktown Medical Center. My name is Shanton Saway Jenkins, and I'll be starting us off today with the description of the process. So per a meeting with an employee here at Parktown Medical Center, you guys currently employ 7 salaried physicians, 10 nurses, 3 support staff, and 3 clerical workers. And among the duties of the clerical workers, they do reception, correspondence, cash receipts, billing, and appointment scheduling. So the servicing physician can approve credit. And if the credit is not approved, the patient pays for their services by cash or check. If credit is approved, the performing physician files a memo with the clerk, who then sets up a receivable. The servicing physician prepares a charge slip that is given to one of the clerks for pricing and preparation of the patient's bill. One clerk uses the bill to prepare a revenue summary, and in the case of a credit sale, the clerk updates the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. Front office clerks receive cash and checks directly from the patient and gives them a pre-numbered receipt. The clerks take turns opening the mail. One clerk who opens the mail stamps it for deposit only. Any one of the clerks prepares a list of the cash and checks to be deposited that day into the bank account. One clerk who opened the mail that day uses a list of cash receipts and checks to update patient accounts. The clerk then takes turns preparing and mailing monthly statements to patients with unpaid balances. If the service performing physician believes the account will not pay, he tells the office manager, and only then can one of the clerks write off uncollectible accounts. During lunch, the office manager takes the daily deposit to the bank. If the servicing physician communicates to the manager that the account will not pay, the office manager then issues a credit memo to write off the account. The office manager supervises the clerk, issues write-off memos, schedule appointments for the doctors, makes bank deposits, reconciles the bank statements, and performs general correspondence duties. Additional services are performed monthly by a local accountant who posts summaries prepared by the clerks to the general ledger, prepares income statements, and files the appropriate payroll forms and tax returns. And now I'll send it off to my colleague.
Hello, my name is Hector Escalante, and I will be talking to you guys about the document flowchart. So based on the information that you guys gave us, we came up with this document flowchart. So let's start off with the physician first. So the physician, what he does is he performs, he renders the service to the patient. Once these services have been rendered, the physician goes ahead and he prepares a charge slip. So once this charge slip is done, the physician goes ahead and he sends it off to his 3 clerks. What the clerks do with this is they input this data into a bill, and this bill is used for 2 purposes. The first purpose is to come up with a revenue summary, and the second purpose is for them to enter the bill data and update accounts receivable ledger. Another duty that they have is that it starts off with the patient, and then they receive cash or checks from them depending on their method of payment. After that, the clerks must give them a pre-numbered receipt, which ends with the patient. That pre-numbered, the cash and the checks are then sent off to the office manager. Another duty that they have is opening the daily mail. As you guys stated, the clerks take turns opening the mail. So they open the mail, then they stamp it. Then they make a list of all the cash and checks that they've received. They make a list, and then this list is then sent off to the office manager. So now we will move on to the office manager duties. So, as stated before, 3 clerks, or one of the clerks, gets the cash and the checks from the patients, and then they send the office manager a deposit slip. The clerks also send the manager the checks and cash received. So what the office manager does is he gets a deposit slip and he gets the cash and takes it to the bank. Then now we will move on to the local accountant. So the local accountant's job is he goes into the general ledger and he creates the income statement payroll forms, and tax returns. So we came to the conclusion that we believe that your guys' process and document flow chart is good, but there's rooms for improvement. And to talk about these improvements, I'll hand it over to my colleague.
So good afternoon, my name is Virginia Medina, and I will be talking to you about the problem description. So first of all, there's so many weaknesses with this process in this business. And first of all, the physician, for example, he is approving credit based on subjective criteria. So basically he's guessing whether he should approve the credit if somebody looks trustworthy, or if they don't look trustworthy, then he doesn't approve it. And that has a huge weakness because he could be denying people that have actually great credit. So the company should be using objective methods instead of subjective. Also, another weakness is that the physician is approving write-offs of collectible accounts. So he's writing them off when they might be collectible, and he might not be writing them off when they're actually uncollectible. So what's going on is that he could be understating the accounts receivable and overstating the bad debt expense, and vice versa as well. And another problem with the physician is that aside from doing his primary activities of serving the customer, he's also doing, of course, approving credit, like I mentioned, and he's writing off uncollectible accounts. And what happens with this is that he's doing two things. He's authorizing, and he has access to the recording. And this could potentially be, can lead to theft if he records accounts uncollectible and then he cashes the money or something like that. Another weakness is the clerks. There's 3 of them, and they're all over the place. They're doing a lot of duties that they're doing 2 duties at the same time instead of just recording or just authorizing or just having custody of the checks and the cash. So what happens with them is that they receive cash from the patients, and they're also able to write off uncollectible accounts. And they maintain accounts receivable at the same time. So they are doing basically a lot of duties when they should only be doing one. They could potentially be stealing by simply understating either the accounts receivable, fees earned, or cash receipts, and keeping that money for themselves. Okay, now with the office manager, he is able to make deposits, bank deposits, which is a custody function. He is also able to reconcile bank statements, a recording function. Now there's a problem with this. If he's recording, he should not be able to have custody of cash or of the bank deposits. He could essentially be committing theft and stealing the money and overstating the cash balances for books and keeping the cash instead of depositing. So that's a humongous weakness. Now, with the local accountant, the problem with him is that he fails to reconcile the subsidiary and general control accounts receivable ledgers. So this could potentially result in fees earned, cash receipts, and uncollectible account expenses to be either under or overstated because of differences in the undetected subsidiary and general control accounts receivable ledger. Also, billing, cash receipts, and write-ups recording accurately failures can understate accounts receivable, cash receipts, and fees earned. So that's another mistake that's something that's actually not being done and should be done to make sure that everything is functioning properly. So now I will suggest some internal controls for Parktown Medical Group Incorporated to fix all their weaknesses and improve their situation. So first, let's begin with the physician. He approves credit subjectively, just guessing, assuming somebody is trustworthy or not, and he could potentially be denying people that actually have great credit and approving people that aren't going to pay. So therefore, the office staff should use their objective credit checking methods, whether that is with a website or with programs that they have, but they should do it that way. In addition, credit approval and write-offs of uncollectible accounts should be done by two separate people to separate the duties. Now with the clerks, there's 3 of them, and basically they're all over the place, and they're able to do more than one duty. The same person. So there should be a control limiting the clerks to do only one duty, and only one of them. Only one of them. So either a custodial, or the duty of custody to receive cash and checks, or either to record, but they cannot do both the same things because they could be potentially stealing, and saying on recording they can maintain accounts receivable and put that they indeed receive that they didn't receive something from the patient, money from the patient, and could simply cash it in themselves. Now with the office manager, a control segregating a bank reconciliation, which is part of the recording duty, and the bank deposits, which is part of the custody duty, should be put. And it should be to prevent theft, because what essentially could happen is that the office manager could keep cash and simply state something else in the bank reconciliation. Also, the office manager should only be allowed to do one of the duties, not the 2 of them. He cannot be he cannot do the custodial duty of having cash deposits and access to checks, and also have the authority to issue credit memos, or have the recording responsibility of maintaining accounts receivable all at the same time. That is a violation of the segregation of duties concept. Nor can he do 2 of the 3. He could only do 1. So essentially just 1. Maybe he could go off to, if he does recording in 1 year and then he wants to do authorization, he could do that, but it cannot be at the same time. So there should be 3 different people doing the 3 different duties. So now for the local accountant, he should do periodic accounts receivable subsidiary and general control ledger reconciliation that can balance out, and that's it. Currently it's not being done, but that's one of the things that he should start doing. And also one last thing is that, for example, the clerks, one of the clerks could be doing the custodial duty. The office manager could possibly be authorizing, and another employee could be recording. But they have to be assigned. Each employee has to be assigned to one of the duties, whether it is whoever it is. But as long as they're doing one duty, one person, that's very important. So now I will be passing it over to my other colleagues, who will be talking about the flow chart with the internal controls incorporated.
Professor, my name is Zheng Huang, and we are presenting the description of the process and the flow chart with the internal controls. So on the new process and the new flow chart, we divided the entire clerk to the 3 individual clerkers. So which are the clerk number 1 is the recorder, clerk number 2 is the custody, clerk number 3 is the deposit. We'll start with the service performed by the physician. Once the physician meets with the patient will render the services. So after the physician figure out what kind of the service is, the physician will prepare the charge slips. So at this point, the physician will prepare 2 charge slips, so which are 2 invoices. One charge slip will go to the clinic number 1, who is recorder. So the clinic number 1 will manually input the charge slip data, and then another one will save to the D file. So after the clinic number 1 input the charge slip data, it will create the patient's bill. And the clinic number 1 will manually input the patient's bill data to the AR subsidiary ledger. So at the same time, the clinic number 1 will also receive the pre-number received from clinic number 2. So the clinic number 1 needed to record it into the revenue summary, and then clinic number 2 need to input the AR subsidiary ledger. At the end, once the clinic number 1 have input all the data to the AR subsidiary ledger, the clinic number 1 need to save all data to the R file.
Hello, Professor. My name is Jin Ying. I'm going to present the process description of clinic number 2, clinic number 3, and office manager. Clinic number 2. Clinic number 2's job is custody. After patients paid bill, clinic number 2 received cash and check from patients. Clinic number 2 give the cash or check to the office manager and need to make 3 copies of per number receipt. First receipt give to patient. Second receipt give to clinic number 1, so clinic number 1 can prepare revenue summary. Third receipt is manual file to the save in the system. Clinic number 3. Clinic number 3's job is deposit. Clinic number 3 needs manual mail open and stamp. After that, make 2 copies of a list of cash and check to be deposited. 1 copy is for data input of used list, and the other one give to office manager. Office manager. For office manager, after receive cash or check from clinic number 2 and deposit slip from clinic number 3, his job is deposit the cash or check to the bank. All process is done when cash or check deposit to the bank. Thank you.